Hey, this is Peter and welcome to another Take a Break with Valley CAD. So in today's video, what we're going to be working through is actually looking at an existing part or assembly or just component that's actually it's already been designed, it's already been drawn up, it's already been manufactured, and you get the opportunity to say, how would I make this? And so looking at the picture that we're going to show when I flip over onto our screen here, you'll kind of see what we're going to be working on, but we're going to be working through Weldments a little bit more and figuring out how we can draw up this given component. So think of it as another design challenge. So get your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and I'll see you in SOLIDWORKS in just a click. Hey there, welcome to SOLIDWORKS. So this is the part that we're gonna be working through. I had the privilege of taking my wife out for a brunch, and we ate on top of a rooftop, and this was the structure that they had for like a wall, a safety wall. And looking at it, it looks like it's a Weldment structure. And so a lot of people don't realize that you can do a lot of architectural work with SOLIDWORKS. And what I mean by architectural, like this simple wall here. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in and look at how we can make this structure come in across this wall and showing you how easy it is actually to do this using Weldment. So what we're gonna need to do first is come up with some parameters. We're gonna need to figure out how far is it from this leg over to this leg, and also how many, how far the distance is between each vertical rung there, and also how many horizontal rungs we are gonna need as well. So looking at this, we also have some of these, I'll call them chevron shape cutouts here, or structures coming down. And so we'll also need to figure out how we're gonna draw that as well. So coming in, I'll probably come in and start off from the outside from here, and also the outside I know is cut off on this picture, but the other side on over here as well. And so with that, let's go ahead and come in and figure out how we're gonna make this thing first. And so let's go ahead and make this picture a little bit smaller here. We'll move it off to the side just for visual representation. And so coming in here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize some planes for it first. All right, and so with our plane setup, what we're gonna end up doing here is we're gonna set up a distance from here to over here. So I'm gonna be utilizing my front plane actually, and we'll just drag this out, and we'll say that we're going out a total of 120 inches on this one. So from here, what I will simply do is say, hey, we can make this 120 total, or we could just say be 60 at this time. And what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna have plane on this side, and then we're gonna set up another plane on the other side as well. So what we're gonna do now is we could actually come in and create a global variable off of this thing. That's what I like to do. And so what we could say is this equals half width. Okay, so half width or total distance on there. And then so I just put HW for that. So now with that set up there, what we're gonna do next is come in and utilize this plane here. You're gonna hold down Control and drag it off the other way. And I'm gonna say this equals half width. Actually, we'll just say 120 at this time. I forget that in the properties there, it doesn't recognize equations just yet. But then from there, what I could do is to simply double click on this. How it says 120, what I'll do is simply say that this equals global variable of half width times 2. So now if I ever change this value here to a shorter, bigger distance, this one will automatically grow with it. And the next thing that we're gonna need to do is figure out how tall is this structure, this wall structure. And so in this scenario, we'll say that this is coming up, we'll say 4 feet on this one. So just simply come up, and we'll say 48 on there. And we'll say we're done with that. Awesome. So now what we need to do next is figure out how we're gonna sketch this. Now, what's really nice about this Weldment structure is that it's all on a 2D plane. So I can actually sketch everything on my right plane if I want to. So coming in here, creating a new sketch, we'll come in and we'll set it up to where we're gonna work on that little chevron shape first. And I'm gonna be looking at it on the left side of my part here. So what I'm gonna do is simply come in and create a rectangle like so, and have that rectangle come up, and we'll make it so it's the height of there, and we'll simply say good to that. Now that 4 feet height, now that I'm looking at this in a scale factor, it might be a little bit too tall. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in and we're gonna make it so that the top of this matches to the top of that plane there, and say just be collinear on that. Then from there, I'm gonna simply say that this here has a width of 24 inches, so for 2 feet. And then from there, this guy down here is still underdefined, right? So I need to come in and say that this line to here, I wanna make those two so that they're coincident. Then from there, what I'm gonna do is come in and create a line that's coming down straight down like so. Then from there, we could come up with our chevron shape. So I'll simply say from there to there. Now, keep in mind, I'm only gonna create one for this. I'm not gonna come and create multiple lines. The reason is because I could come in and create a linear pattern utilizing bodies. So what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll create an angle on this. Now, keep in mind, I did not go over and take measurements of this wall. This was simply just snapping a picture on it, and you're seeing me draw this in real time. I actually have not gone through and create different iterations on this thing or anything like that. So here we are at 45, and we set it up so that's coming in at from the corner there down, and that looks about right on there. And from there, what we can do next is say, hey, I need to come in with another set of lines here. So we'll simply say that from here all the way to this side, right? And we'll say something like this, and we'll say this one coming over like so. And so one thing as I'm drawing this, I am not worrying about the total dimensions just yet. As I've been drawing this so far, I am noticing that, oh shoot, I'm off on my overall width on this thing, or maybe I have it too tall. So we're gonna have to do a little massaging after we start building our structure system. So this line, I'm gonna make it so it's vertical. I wanna make it into a construction line. Then from there, we'll come in and we'll draw another line here and another line here. Perfect. Then from here, I'm gonna say that these two here are gonna be vertical to each other. Or I could say, hey, make these two the same length. All right, so now that these two are vertical, you'll notice here that my line on top is totally locked as well as this one. The reason is because this edge is locked to that plane that's 60 inches off from my origin. And then I said, hey, go 24 inches in, which will then lead to this line being fully defined. All right. Now from here, what we're gonna end up doing is we need to set up where are these things gonna be located. Now I drew two simple lines on it, right? Now I could come in and say, hey, if I click on this line here, hold down Control, click on the center line, and then click on this line, I could say, hey, be symmetrical. So now as I move these in and out, hey, they look symmetrical, right? Well, what I would rather use here is possibly utilizing like a segment command, right? So segment, how this works is that if I come in here and said, hey, I need to make it so that we have a total of 2 drops on this thing, or 3 drops total. So I'm gonna say, let's make points, and I'm gonna click on this line here. What that will end up doing is it'll make points that are equidistant along this line. Now notice that I have 1 point land in the middle. That's fine. What I can do is now drag this and it will lock it to that equidistant point that I utilize for segment. So now if I ever change this value or change the value of my plane 1, everything will be equally spaced on there as well. And from here, what I'm gonna do is simply draw a line. It's gonna come from here, and I'm gonna simply drag it over like so. Now with this line set up, the other thing that we could do here is create a sketch-driven pattern if we want to, or we could simply come in and do a linear pattern. Now I'm gonna come in and say smart dimension on this from here to here. We'll just say that those 2 rungs there, we'll just make it so it's 8 inches. Now keep in mind, I am not figuring out my true scale, like the right pattern just yet. I wanna come in and create a linear pattern on this. And then after that, we can massage it out as needed. So from here, I'm gonna say that these 2 lines are also gonna be vertical to each other. Now from that, I can just simply say, okay. So here's the beginning of my sketch parameters for this entire Weldment structure. Now, as I was mentioning, you know, that 4 feet seems a little tall, but you know what? Let's actually make this so that this is gonna be wider. Let's come in and let's make it so that this is 90 inches. Now that we said okay to this, what we're gonna do is do a Control Q, and you're gonna see how everything automatically updated for me. Just like that. Pretty easy, huh? And you'll notice how these lines are all lined up nicely. And what we could actually do, come back into the sketch, I could come in and create a smart dimension, and we could see, hey, from here to here, it's gonna be a driven dimension, and it's just there so I could kind of see what is my spacing looking like here. And from there, I'm just gonna massage out my dimensions a little bit more just so it's a little bit cleaner. on here, and we're looking good. The other thing that I'm noting on here is that I have a fully defined sketch. All right. Okay, so now we got that set up. What we need to do now is come in and set up our structures. Like, what type of material are we wanting to use, or profiles do we want to use for these vertical legs or the horizontal rungs there and so forth. And also, what are we going to do for those chevron shapes? So coming in here, I believe that the horizontal rungs are actual just flat bars. Each vertical leg is a square tubing, and then the top leg is actually, kind of looks like it is a rectangular tubing. And I do apologize, it doesn't look like square tubing. Actually, it all looks like rectangular tubing, and it looks like they're all about the same size. The chevrons look like they are squared, and I have the picture up on my other screen as well, and that's what I'm looking at here. All right. So now that we have that set up, what we're gonna do is come in and apply our Weldment structures. So I'm gonna come up to Structure Member, and we're gonna utilize our ANSI inch downloads. This is a file set that you can download from your design library. All right, so we're gonna come in and we're gonna do tube rectangular. And in this scenario, we'll set it up so that we're dealing with, let's do a 4x2, and let's do it at, you know what? Yeah, let's do it at 1/4 inch. That's gonna be really beefy, but hey, it'll work, right? We don't wanna make anyone bump off on this thing. So what we're gonna do is simply click here, and we could click through all the way to the other side. Now, because I have two separate entities here, look what SOLIDWORKS is gonna do. It's actually gonna make this as two separate bodies. Now, is that what we wanna have happen here, or do we want this to be an entire length? Well, this is where you as a designer need to decide that. Because if I click from here and I come over onto this side, we're dealing with 156 inches. Okay, so standard lengths they could get in tubing is 240 inches, right? So technically I could actually make this all as one unit, not separate two, but for the sake of needing to make this to mirror over to the other side, I am gonna make it as a separate unit. So coming back in my square tubing, gonna edit that feature again. And what we're gonna do is now come through and click on some more groups on this thing. So we're gonna click and say new group. We'll say from here and here. Now, one other thing to note here while we're doing this, where do we want our structural tubing to land on our profile, right? So if I come back into group 1, do I want it so that the line is going and bisecting the entire thing? Or do I want to make it to where my structural tubing is below that line? In this scenario, we'll simply come in and we'll make it so that it's below the line. So I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to say locate profile, and we'll click on that point there. Then we'll do the same thing on this one. So I need to come up, click on group 2, and we'll click on this point here. So we're going to say locate profile and click on that point. Then from there, what you'll notice is that SOLIDWORKS is putting the sketch entities or the paths on the outside of each profile. Then from there, we're gonna say another new group. With our new group, we'll simply click here, and on this, we're gonna have to say locate profile again, because maybe I wanna make it so that it's coming to the inside of that. So locate profile, we're gonna click on, not that point there, try it again, locate profile, and click on that point. Then from there, we'll say new group again, and simply come in and click here. And then from there, we'll say locate profile again, and we're gonna click on to that point there. So now we're making everything going to the inside of our sketch geometry still. Awesome. So then we also have tubing that's gonna be coming down the dead center of this thing too. So we're gonna say new group. This one's gonna simply bisect. Now you might be asking, well, why didn't you just create that as one group and locate your profile? It's not gonna work, because if I said, hey, I wanna locate it based off of this first profile here, what SOLIDWORKS will do is actually make this profile go to the right side of that line as well. So that's why you gotta create a new group each time. All right, so now we got that set up. We're also gonna come in and create new groups here. We're gonna click on this one and click on this one as well. And we're gonna make it so that these actually bisect the sketch as well as we did here. So you know what, actually with that setup, let's see if this will work. If I say group 5 there, if I come through and click, you'll notice that SOLIDWORKS keeps the same parameters all the way through on this. All right, so now we got that set up. What I can simply do is say okay to that. Now, as we look at this, what I need to do next is create another structural member feature. In this scenario, we're gonna say let's do square tubing this time, not rectangular. We'll do square, and we'll say let's do 2 by 2 by 3/16 there. And the groups are gonna be this one, and then we're gonna say that one too. Now, notice how with these two units that I created, SOLIDWORKS is making them and are gonna extend beyond my geometry. The reason is because it's following the path of that sketch line. Not a problem though, right? Because we could come in and utilize a feature of trim and extend. I'm gonna utilize a trim and extend towards the end of my design though. So now we have that set up. We'll undo structural member again. And in this scenario, what we need to do is create a bar that comes across here. Now, I don't have a bar profile currently. As we look at here, I got a wood profile, unistrut, standard, ISO, 80/20 extrusion. But I actually, oh, there it is. There's my rectangular bar. And we'll make it up so it's a 1 by 4. In this scenario, I'll click here. So by clicking on that line, it made it so it made a vertical bar. All I need to do is rotate this thing 90 degrees, like so. So now that bar is coming through and it's gonna line up nicely with our other geometry here. Let's make it so it's a 1 by 3. That way it fits a little bit nicer on there. And then from there, I can simply say okay to that. So now what I wanna do is come in and create some trims on it. So trim and extend. So what we wanna say is bodies to trim. I want this one and this one to be trimmed. What I want to be trimming off of are other bodies. So if I click here, here, and also if I click here and here, you'll notice how SOLIDWORKS is extending it. I can make a really cool X shape, right? So if I uncheck, so you'll notice that it's doing that because of these two vertical bodies. So if I delete those two, what SOLIDWORKS will do is actually make it so that it's cutting nicely on there. Now when I say okay to that, you'll see that SOLIDWORKS comes in and it makes one profile that matches up nicely all the way around this unit. But you'll notice how this is still coming up and cutting into this geometry. Not a problem. We just say trim and extend again. Bodies to be trimmed are here and here. And this time I'm gonna say faces to cut. I'm gonna say that one and this one. Now you'll see that SOLIDWORKS is still extending it again. Well, if I come in here and say uncheck allow extension this time, you'll see that SOLIDWORKS will not extend it the opposite direction. The reason why I was extending is because I was saying, hey, take this geometry and extend it to the other side. So that's why we wanted to uncheck it, and that's also why we had to do this in 2 steps. Then from there, what I can do is do a linear pattern, right? So we'll say linear pattern, we'll say direction 1 is gonna be coming down this edge, and the bodies that I want are gonna be this one here. Now from here, what I could simply do is say, hey, how big of a spacing do I want in between each one? We'll say 8 inches at this time, and we'll decrease this slightly. So we'll say let's come down 5 rungs total on that, or we could say go up to 6. If I say 6, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of more trimming there. I also need to say direction 2, and at direction 2, I'm gonna say pattern seed only, and we'll make so that this is 8. Right? And we're gonna increase this to 2, and I wanna flip my direction. So by doing this, it's only gonna pattern my seed the opposite direction. Now I say okay to that. So now we have this set up. Now what's gonna have to happen is we're gonna have to extend these structural members up into my body. So there are some other routes we could have done here. We could have come in and we could have done that trimming feature after we did this linear pattern. So it's totally up to you on how you wanted to go about that. But we'll simply say trim again on this. Weldments, trim and extend. And from here to bodies be trimmed, we'll say these 2 for right now. And what I want to use is this face here and also this face here to trim away units, right? And I'm gonna uncheck allow extension at this time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna discard this one, and we're also gonna discard that. Okay, then from here we want to discard this and discard this one. And it looks like I clicked on the wrong face on the top side, so I'm going to delete that. We'll click on this face there. There we go. So that way it is making it so that it fits inside of our geometry. So now we have our unit kind of set up there. We do need to do some extra extending, but as you see there, you know how that works, and also I wanna be conscious of our time here. So now what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do another linear, or I'm gonna do a trim and extend. And what bodies I wanna trim this time are gonna be this one. And I wanna trim it between this body, and this body here. So what's gonna do is wherever it's intersecting along here, it's gonna cut it away. Perfect. So now that's set up, what I can simply do is come in here and do another linear pattern. So we'll say linear pattern there. The direction I want is gonna be along this vertical edge here, and the bodies that I want are gonna be these three here. And so we could keep that 8-inch spacing if we'd like to, and we'll just decrease that down to 5 in this scenario, and we'll simply say okay to that. So now, as I was saying, this unit over here, we need to mirror it to the other side, right? So I'm gonna say mirror, and the mirror plane is gonna be my front plane there, and I'm gonna say bodies to mirror. In this scenario, I'll simply click here, 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 all these bodies actually. And you could also come in and do like a window effect if you like. And so coming in through here, click on all these bodies here. You'll see it's showing up on the other side, and also I need to click on that body there. Then from there, we simply say okay to that. So I know I need to do a little bit more cleanup on it, but I wanted to show you how you could come in and utilize a picture to be able to come in and, you know, make a geometry. So I love seeing these design challenges to be able to see something that's existing and be able to make something out of it. So I do apologize, we are running a little bit long on this video here. But if you are enjoying these videos, please click that thumbs up button. Also click subscribe so you get notified. Well, thanks for taking a break with Valley CAD. Hopefully you enjoyed your bigger cup of coffee or tea this time. We'll be talking to you soon, and also make sure you learn something new. I'll see you later.